All right. So, welcome to 12 Steps on the Path to Freedom. I am Lisa, your interpreter and fellow student. I am so grateful that we are all here tonight or today to experience this final leg of our journey together as our first passage is completed. So tonight we are setting aside and letting go of everything we brought forward before this workshop. We give ourselves permission to let it go in order to make way more room for opportunities to recover from the deep unmanageability we have all been suffering with. Be wholeheartedly willing to be present one day, one moment at a time, with an open mind and an open heart as we walk this newly completed path to freedom and spiritual enlightenment. And if you want to do the set aside prayer with me, God, please set aside everything that I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, my fellow travelers, so that I may continue my journey with my recovery,
Sorry,
my
my
desire
desire to
to
transcend,
transcend, and
and
especially
especially my ability to
co-create
create with you.
here. So for me, this has been a wonderful journey, and I wanted to open with my gratitude to all of you here tonight and also the others who aren't here for whatever reason. You have contributed to this collective consciousness of this group, and it made the work enjoyable, successful, and I thank you all. I learned a tremendous lot about so many things. And I hope I was able to convey the power of the experience of maintaining a direct connection to a source beyond ourselves in a way that was approachable and effectual. This path that Bill W. and his co contributors have referred to as our way of life, Bill tells us that we have entered the world of the spirit and that we have commenced this way of living as we have addressed our past transgressions and made amends wherever applicable. We began this journey looking for a program of recovery, which is a program of addressing our addictions, but we find it becomes our way of living, addictions aside. Our way of life gives us steps 10, 11, and 12 to address our daily doses of unmanageability. If we look at the prayer of St. Francis, it is a perfect prayer when you are seeking to live in peace and joy. The prayer of St. Francis is a beautiful reminder of what connection to a source of power beyond ourselves looks like in everyday life. This is such an encouraging and uplifting prayer that teaches us how we can live and help those around us. The prayer is, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. That's a wonderful, wonderful prayer. I didn't use it a lot throughout the workshop because it's a little bit long, but it's a great it's a great prayer to get yourself back on track when you feel like you're getting a little off track. It really puts things back in perspective. And then there's also what's called the daily prayer of St. Francis. And that is, Lord, help me to live this day quietly, easily, to lean upon thy great strength, trustful and restfully, to wait for the unfolding of thy will, patiently, serenely, to meet others peacefully, joyously, to face tomorrow confidently and courageously. Amen. Another great way to start your day. And the spirit behind St. Francis is what is really important. He often used the word channel. We have all become a channel in our 12 step recovery. a channel of grace, a channel of light, and a channel of power. And we keep our channel cleared by using step 10. Bill furthers that with the suggestion of using our inventory at night as part of our 12-step work. In the end, as we finish up the workshop, it will be on step 10, and using the words from the St. Francis prayer is a solid way to remember we are the channels. The best chance of implementing these steps into my daily routine is to start my day off using step 11 and then continuing in this fashion. Upon awakening, I ask for guidance, and I am also building a relationship where I am learning to listen to my consciousness and higher self. My interpretation keeps it clean as a practice to develop my humanity and to improve my consciousness. The words are, of course, literal, as they improve my conscious contact with my Creator, what I also call the energy of life and the energy of light. And I allow my channel to overflow in order to seep out to my brokenness and to others so that I may be useful. In step 12, we use a new word, usefulness. And I share with the world that I encounter that which is flowing from my channel. Step 12 infers that when all else fails and you can't get out of your own way and your bedevilments are taking over again, we look to help somebody else. Remember, this is not an opportunity to reenact your prior days of people-pleasing or practicing codependency. This is an act that requires no return that people-pleasing where codependency does. If you are getting something out of usefulness or helping, then it is not useful or helpful. The 12th step emphasizes the very practical application and encourages us to keep our minds in balance. We cannot give away what we do not have. So keep it clean and powerful through practicing your inventory and meditation practices. The promise of the 12th step is an awakening that is its singular focus. It sounds esoteric or mysterious, but we know it isn't because we have had lots of conversations about what it is. Back in July, when we talked about this, because it is the vision, it is the purpose and the promise. It is why we do this work. Not because we are an addict in some form or another, but we do it because we want to change through having a relationship with the sunlight of the Spirit in order to dissipate our darkness. A change in the way we think, feel, and behave, it is pretty comprehensive. The gamut is a change in what we think, feel, and believe. It is what makes us human, our mind, emotions, and will, our entire life. And it is done to us, not by us, but as we have repeatedly and endlessly realized, it is not done without us. This is the recipe of grace, willingness, and mystery. I can't definitively explain or prove any of this, mostly because it is not within my scope of comprehension. I would have to have had a pretty advanced cognitive level where, at this point, I don't yet. But nobody's really at that point of understanding even how we got here. But I think they'll figure it out someday. So each one of us is becoming a beacon of light, an invitation to give what you have received. And each of us has our own uniqueness, right down to our fingerprints and DNA. There will never be another version of us. Our entire lives is a very unique combination, and with that, we have our own weaknesses and strengths. And as a result of this uniqueness, we have the ability to help someone else. We are the no one that is coming for somebody else. You may not meet them today or tomorrow. We don't know, but you may never know because we don't get feedback usually. We provide the light on the path for others to see their way. But we can't give away what we don't have. We light the way not to feel good about ourselves. We do it to have freedom from our addictive way of life. Life itself is a practice, a learning experience that will continue until we take our last breath. So, whatever the term is that we all use, God, Allah, Jesus, I use the word creator, we can't understand it and we don't actually have to. That is what faith is. Whatever it is, it has been from the beginning of time and will continue to be till the end of time. In Exodus 3:14, God reveals his name to Moses as Eya Asher Eya. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which means I am who I am, or I will be who I will be, signifying his eternal, self-existent, and unchanging nature. This divine declaration indicates God is the active, ever-present creator who is not dependent on anything or anyone else. Scholars have been wrestling with the content and the meaning of that I statement, the I-ness of this reality. This is the reason why the present moment is the only moment where life takes place. The past is history, the future is a mystery, but now is the present, which is why they call it a gift. The present moment is all we ever have, and the Creator is consciousness, our consciousness, everyone's consciousness, connected all through this mass of consciousness. Bill connected us to it in step 12 when he said, to awaken to the consciousness, and he also connects us to it in step 11 by saying that every day we need to improve our consciousness, our organic connection and integration. As we become more conscious, we become more connected. In his final and farewell talk, Bob Smith, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, said, there are 2 or 3 things that flashed into my mind on which it would be a fitting to lay a little emphasis. One is the simplicity of our program. Let's not louse it all up with Freudian complexes and things that are interesting to the scientific mind, but have very little to do with our actual AA work. Our 12 steps, when simmered down to the last, resolve themselves into the words love and service. We understand what love is, and we understand what service is. So let's bear those 2 things in mind. Let us also remember to guard that erring member, the tongue, and if we must use it, let's use it with kindness and consideration and tolerance. And one more thing, none of us would be here today if somebody hadn't taken time to explain things to us, to give us a little pat on the back, to take us to a meeting or two, to have done numerous little kind and thoughtful acts on our behalf. So let us never get the degree of smug complacency so that we're not willing to extend or attempt to that help which has been so beneficial to us, to our less fortunate brothers. And that was Dr. Bob's last statement. He died right after he made the statement. So it was the last thing he ever said. There is a mystical question, superficial, silly, or challenging. Are we human beings searching for a spiritual experience, or are we spiritual beings seeking a human experience? And the answer is, of course, yes. When you believe God is everything versus nothing, then yes, God is in both, therefore, we are both. Bill said, if this is our practice, a vision for you, we keep our head in the clouds, which can be interpreted to mean step 11. Bill said inventory and meditation go hand in hand so that you can keep your channel clear, so that the light can shine brightly in you and through you, and eventually you will need to keep your feet on the ground. So we keep up our daily practice, as was emphasized, and incorporate it into part of our commitment and part of our accountability plan daily. We show up and we do the best we can in a gentle, non aggressive way. We lean into it, accepting the results. And if we don't like the results, we change our motivation or our behaviors, or perhaps the information we are receiving, because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. And that's a fact. If you don't like what is going on around you in your life, and your behaviors are beginning to alert you that something isn't working, then you'll have to make different choices. Dennis Prager is a prominent Jewish voice in American media, raised in a modern Orthodox home, who left formal observance but remains deeply connected to his Jewish faith, emphasizing traditional Jewish practices and teachings. He wrote a book called Happiness is a Serious Problem in 1998, which stressed two important insights. First, happiness isn't to be awaited for, but must be pursued. Second, expectations are a major impediment to happiness. They undermine the greatness source of happiness, which is gratitude. The more you expect, the less grateful you will be for what you have. The less you expect, the more grateful you will become. Dennis Prager suffered a severe spinal cord injury from a fall in late 2024, leaving him paralyzed below the shoulders, impacting his diaphragm and breathing. But he has no brain damage and considers his ability to speak a miracle, focusing on gratitude while undergoing extensive rehabilitation. And I don't know if you guys know who Dennis Prager is, but anything that he's written is really phenomenal if you're looking for something just to add to your book collection. Viktor Frankl, one of my forever most favorite books, he wrote Man's Search for Meaning, is an Australian neurologist, psychiatrist, and Holocaust survivor. He devoted his life to studying, understanding, and promoting meaning. His famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, tells the story of how he survived the Holocaust by finding personal meaning in the experience, which gave him the will to live through it. He went on to later establish a new school of existential therapy called logotherapy, based on the premise that man's underlying motivator in life is a will to meaning, even in the most difficult of circumstances. Frankl pointed to research indicating a strong relationship between meaninglessness and criminal behaviors, addictions, and depression. Without meaning, people fill the void with hedonistic pleasures, power, materialism, hatred, boredom, or neurotic obsessions and compulsions. Some may also strive for super meaning, the ultimate meaning in life, a spiritual kind of meaning that depends solely on a greater power outside of personal or external control. He said what man actually needs is not the discharge of tension at any cost, but the call of a potential higher meaning waiting to be fulfilled by him. So, gratitude journaling is a scientifically backed transformative habit that boosts happiness, reduces stress, and rewires the brain to focus on positive aspects of life. By consistently noting what you are thankful for, you shift from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance, improving mental health, and, in many cases, sleep. How do you start a gratitude journal? Start with being very specific. Instead of just, I'm grateful for my family, note a specific moment, like, I'm grateful for the laughs I share with my daughter over breakfast. Keep it simple and write down 3 to 5 things daily or weekly. It does not need to be a long essay. And don't lose focus of the small things. Acknowledge simple pleasures like good coffee, a sunny day, or a helpful partner. And be consistent. Regularity is key to forming the habit and reaping long-term rewards. After your morning practice of prayer or contemplation is done, grab your notebook. There may be lessons or whispers that came through in your meditation, even if that meditation is only for 1 minute, it can still be very powerful. And according to the experts, this practice is about training yourself to see the blessings and the grace that we often overlook unless we take the time to recognize what was already there in the midst of the gratitude. There is a higher power attached to the blessings and the struggles, and that is the greatest thing to be grateful for. I have learned to pray because I am powerless, and I have learned also to hold myself accountable for my actions. When I reverse the blame from everything outside of myself to me, I am then able to see my part in all of my alleged misery and suffering. The morning guidance is where I pay attention and listen. This is the warm up. I am a seeker, and my tool is prayer and meditation. Meditation is my listening to improve my conscious contact with power. And I continue to pray for knowledge because I don't know what is best. My mind thinks, and my will decides what action to take. They aren't always great at doing their job together because I thought I know better but didn't do better in many situations. And the only thing I can do about that other than to expose myself to better information and to better teachers. But ultimately, I need to remember I need the power to do it with me. Rabbi Sammy Shapiro wrote in his book, 12 Steps in a Jewish Context. Talk is only part of the 12th step. Moses Maimonides was once asked by a student how to go about securing good character traits. Maimonides replied, perform those deeds that follow from such traits over and again until the actions become second nature to you. Then those traits, too, shall become second nature for you. In another text, he wrote, a person will not attain fine character traits as a result of the performance of one great deed, but rather as a result of the performance of numerous good deeds. Good character will be attained through frequent repetition of good deeds, and the emphasis is on action, the frequent repetition of good deeds, doing them, and not always when they're convenient. Doing good deeds is not always in accord with the feelings of the moment. There will be times when the last thing we feel like doing is the good deed that must be done, and we will do it anyway. This is the strength of the 12-step traveler. We must accept and surrender our feelings, not fight them. The ego has a right to feel whatever it feels. Neither we nor it can control the ebb and flow of feelings. We accept this and get on with doing what must be done, for that, in fact, is why we were born and how we must live out our lives one day at a time. Each of us is God's way of doing what must be done. Nothing special and yet absolutely vital. Now you know, now get on with it, one day at a time. Accountability is key. For many people, it is having a sponsor or a step guide, a therapist, spiritual advisor, all the varieties of life to be accountable, not to all of them in everything, but to each of them in something. A robust support system is the bedrock upon which accountability thrives. It provides the encouragement, motivation, and structure needed to navigate the challenges of recovery. Accountability in recovery means taking responsibility for your actions and choices, setting goals, and making consistent efforts to achieve them. It involves being honest about your struggles and seeking support when needed. It's natural to feel hesitant or embarrassed about seeking support. However, remember that reaching out is a sign of strength, not of weakness. The 12 steps of spirituality is a relationship with power, or light, or life, or God as we don't understand it. And Bill suggests that we trust that whatever it is, that we clean our channel. The circle represents infinite power or light, and the Big Book recommends that we trust that whatever it is, and we keep our channel to this source clean and ready to receive guidance. Steps 4 through 9, we clean the channel and we keep it clean. We clean our lenses, and then step 10 and 11, we do more inventory because we want to keep our lens clean so that the light can shine through us to the people around us. The triangle is a symbol of the human being transcending. Bill talked about contemplation of all and immanence, the sunlight of the spirit underlying the center of all reality. And finally, to help others by trusting God. Cleaning the channel will help others. This is our way of life, the new path we'll walk on. The 12 steps are achieved by surrendering self-will, admitting powerlessness, and relying on a higher power to remove shortcomings, allowing personal growth into God's image. This spiritual journey moves us from bondage to a sunlight of the spirit, fostering humility, character change, and freedom to serve others. Core components of spiritual growth and the 12 steps are: from a purpose standpoint, freedom from our addiction is how it starts, which was Bill and Bob's hope. Bill had wonderful insights as he wrote the Big Book, but I will say one more time, addiction is not the problem. Addiction is a problem, but it is not the problem. Freedom from addiction is good, but freedom from unmanageability, from our human condition, is really the key. And he says, we are not cured, we have a daily reprieve, and will experience freedom as long as we work for it. The promises are on page 84. It will always manifest if we work for them. Which brings us to step 10, then to step 11, and then to step 12. This is the work of living, the work of managing our lives, freedom from addiction, a treasure and a mystery. It was the suffering that brought us to the 12-step recovery process and through the steps. Most, if not all of us, are doing this to reduce the pain of our own suffering. No matter how long you have been abstinent, you may feel restless, irritable, and discontent because life isn't fair, or we are not getting our needs met. There's lots of reasons, each of them are individual. But I need more power to make better choices, to have more understanding, and to take more healthy and effective actions. Through a variety of efforts, dead ends, and dark night of the soul, we find that we cannot do it alone. This is not a self-help program. It is a program in which we have to admit and accept that we have to concede to our own helplessness, in a sense, but at the same time, completely accept our responsibility to take some action, and that is the mystery that we talk about. Willingness and grace. And the bottom line question to ask yourself is, how free do I want to be from my unmanageability? We are empowered to manage our lives as long as we walk hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. So this is an ending story I'm going to read, you guys, if you just want to relax and listen to it. It's not long, but it's a really great story, and you probably mostly heard it. It's the story about the starfish. And so just try to listen and internalize maybe what feelings come up for you. So once there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. One day he was walking along the shore, As he looked down the beach, he saw a figure moving like a dancer. He smiled to himself to think of someone who would dance to the day. So he began to walk faster to catch up. As he got closer, he saw that it was a young boy, and the young boy wasn't dancing, but instead, he was reaching down to the shore's edge, picking up something and very gently throwing it into the ocean. As the wise man got closer, he called out, "Good morning. What might you be doing?" The young boy paused, looked up, and replied, "I'm throwing starfish into the ocean." The wise man said to the boy, "Why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" And the young boy replied, "The sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them in, they'll die." "But, young man, don't you realize that there are miles and miles of beach with starfish all along it? You can't possibly make a difference." The young boy listened politely. Then he bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea, past the breaking waves. He looked at the man and he said, "It made a difference to that one." His response surprised the wise man. He was upset and he didn't know how to reply. So instead, he turned away and walked back to the cottage to begin his writings. All day long as he wrote, the image of the young boy haunted him. He tried to ignore it, but the vision continued to distract him. Finally, late in the afternoon, he realized that he, the scientist, he, the poet, had missed out on the essential nature of the young boy's actions. Because he realized that what the young boy was doing was choosing not to be an observer in the universe and watch it pass by, but was choosing to be an actor in the universe to make a difference. And he was embarrassed. That night he went to bed troubled. When the morning came, he awoke knowing that he had to do something. So he got up, put on his clothes, went to the beach, and found the young man again. And with him, he spent the rest of the morning throwing starfish into the ocean. You see, what the young boy's actions represent is something that is special in each and every one of us. We have all been gifted with the ability to make a difference. And if we can, like that young boy, become aware of that gift, we gain through the strength of our vision with our higher power to shape the future. And that is your challenge. That is my challenge. We must each find our starfish. And if we throw our stars wisely and well, I have no questions that our little corner of the world is going to be a wonderful place. Remember, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes time. Vision with action can change the world. So that concludes the PowerPoint. And if we have anybody that, if you did the homework and you have your questions from the first class, did anybody do the homework? Or does anybody remember the questions that we had from the first class?
Why am I here?
Why am I here? Good, Sarah. Does that mean you're going to answer it too?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm here to keep learning and to keep it's just a daily reprieve. And so I'm like Pavlov's dog. I need the constant reinforcement. So I just keep coming back because as life goes on, life changes and I encounter new challenges. And I need the 12 steps to kind of help me get through new challenges that I have to meet that I didn't really anticipate. So, and I thank you for all of this was a lovely summary, and I appreciate all the different references you mentioned. I wrote them all down. So lots
Thank
of
you.
good things.
Lots of great authors and really
Yes,
great books. And
yeah.
yeah.
And I
Really
love the
solid.
starfish story. That was
Oh,
I wasn't familiar with that, so that's a
really?
good
Oh
thing.
my, that's wonderful. I thought everybody
Mhm.
had heard that story.
No, I didn't hear that before. That's good.
It's a long
Yeah.
time
Hmm.
favorite.
Hmm.
So the questions at the beginning of the workshop were, why do I want to do this work? Why now? Am I willing to go to any length? And what does this mean? And am I willing to be honest? So now that you've all spent the whole workshop doing all this work, and when we look at these questions, do you feel you were honest? Do you feel you went to any length? Are you glad you did the work? And maybe do you feel like it was the right time? The other couple of things on the homework were, how have I been changed as far as consciousness, awareness? How has it manifested your behavior? Some of those types of questions. So if anyone wants to comment on those, Carol.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Lisa. Why am I here? I want to grow too. I just want to improve and increase my God consciousness. I want to be a better person. And, I think that just doing this work is essential for my growth. And as far as did I go to any lengths? I did. I really feel that I did the work, and I'm happy I did, and I'm more than willing to do it again. I just think that we just this is a way of life too, and this is keeping my channel clear. Being here and interacting with you and everybody else is a way of keeping my channel clear and doing what I have to do. So I'm very grateful to you, Lisa, and to everybody else for your shares and the community. And I think been it's changed my life. It really has. This work has changed my life. There's no question.
I can definitely tell you, Carol, that I have seen a big shift in you over
Oh,
these
good,
few months. Yeah. You can,
good.
your facial expressions even have changed.
Really?
You
Okay.
have a more relaxed, I'm okay with me kind of look that you didn't really have in the beginning.
Oh, thank you.
So I think you've done a lot of work and it shows.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
So I didn't I only went through a vision for you, but I'm doing a bunch of different exercises, that are, outside of program to kind of like stimulate my growth. But it was kind of interesting that when I was just kind of listening, I think the number one thing that I got, and at first I was going to poo poo it, is an even deeper faith than I had before. And I think I had a very deep faith, if that makes sense. But, and I've even like seen just like how, like if I listen even more, um, to my higher power, you know what I mean? Like how I can get even more benefit. For example, like if I choose to like listen to him and not listen to, because a lot of times it'll be like stuff that he says that's really really good, and I don't do it, and then there are bad consequences. Like one example I'll get, and I'm not going to go into outside issues, but the thing I'm going to mention kind of, it deals with some stuff from the world, but I'm not going to get into detail. So I had gotten like an offer for a really like good position, um, but the circumstances of it would have had me like lie. I would have had to be deceitful. So part of me, I was like, well, like I could have kind of finagled it, and I'm gonna answer the question, but I think this is as proposed to like some of the changes, but in the workshop, it was just like I heard the God voice that it was just like a no, even though I was like, oh my God, like that's a lot of money. It was kind of like one of those deals. And it was just like the answer was no. And then sometimes when God tells you not to do things, you don't know why that is. But in this situation, I knew why it was a no within a few weeks, like in a spectacular way. And then it was interesting to see myself recently, as far as 6 and 7, still question, which is where my work in the future needs to go. So, looking at the actual questions to kind of ramp down what I want to say, um, I think originally I was here because I was trying to take a hit on one of my particular addictions, and I thought I would be able to completely like nip it in the bud. And what I've found is it's sort of like a timeline, and if I follow God and spend my energy on that rather than my energy, really on my weaker, or what some people might call my shadow side, then I have a good shot of not acting out on my addiction, because my addiction, it's not a black or white thing. That's one. And then two, that one of the main issues that kind of came up is really just sort of like um not lowering, like going for higher stakes, even though that's a bit more. I'm struggling with the word more challenging. So like just looking at these things, like do I want this to work? Yeah, I wanted it to work. I had, like as I think I shared a couple of times, I had like what I thought I should get out of it, but I think really the honesty is probably what I got out of it is probably much better, because what I got out of it is going to last longer, in terms of a relationship with a God. And then what does this mean to me? It really, I think, means to me that I just have to really continue to do this stuff hardcore, especially on these particular two addictions. And um, I think I'll wrap up with another example to kind of answer maybe some of the other questions I had. Like recently, like a friend of mine, he was really trying to get me to uh, um, focus on some issues that I don't. It's not that I don't think I have the problem, but I was trying to be nice that I'm working on some other areas in my life, and then I realized when I was talking to him that it's not my job to explain what, even the people in program, when I'm working on one of my other addictions, like especially if they don't have it, because if they don't have it, then they're going to give me some advice that's not going to really be helpful. And then I think I'll leave it there, So maybe that answered the questions, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, the interesting thing, Mark, that I saw in you and the change that I saw you overcome was, I think when you first came in, and this is just my, assessment, you were looking for a way to fix your problems, but the emphasis was on you. You wanted to fix them. And I think as the workshop progressed, you started to come to the realization that your higher power was going to be what solved your problems and not you. Now, I could be totally off base, but based on some of the things you said, that was how I saw the progression of Mark. I think it went from, trying to find the right person, the right meeting, the right job, the right this, the right that. I think you eventually realized you just had to connect with your higher power and really connect. And then all of that other stuff would take care of itself. So I think I saw a big change in you, and I think most of it came probably more than halfway through the workshop. But you made a lot of progress, and it really shows, and it really shows up in what you say. And I think you've done a fantastic job, and I hope that you continue to stay on that path because you did so much great work, and you clearly have a lot of potential. So great job, Mark. Go ahead, Cesar.
Hi everyone. Why did I want to do this work? I wanted to live without fear, without guilt, without shame, and I wanted to be kind to myself. And I wanted to also, trust God, wholeheartedly. And and I think I went to, you said, am I willing to go to any length? I think I did. Of course, I can do much more, but I did put an effort in there, and I'm willing to be honest so that I can heal, I can grow. Um, and I just loved all your little nuggets that you've thrown at us, especially the one where I meditate in the mornings and you told us to get out of our minds and our hearts so that we can hear God when I have a question and not go back and forth from A to B.
Yep.
And slowly, slowly, I'm hearing that voice. It's going to need a lot more practice and more time, but and I'm really enjoying that silence.
Nice.
Um, and then what
You
else?
know, the amazing thing, Seiza, is the voice is there and it's very loud. The adjustment is in you. So it's never going to be not enough or too much, the voice, because it's always the same. But as you've opened up and you've come to a place where you're more or less vulnerable, I think that's why you're hearing it better. It's not that
Mm,
the voice has changed, you've done the change. And that's the
okay.
exciting part.
So the shift that has occurred to me is I think I've grown just from that one example yesterday that happened. My sister threw this comment at me, throwing this guilt. And thanks to you, I was able not to answer, and I haven't answered to her all day. And I did not feel guilty at all, even though she tried to make me feel guilty, but
Uh,
I did not. I was able to, I've grown, I've grown in maturity. I'm becoming an adult finally. Yeah, thank you for this work. And I will continue with your workshop.
yeah, and
Um,
I've seen a big difference in you, and it is like a maturity thing, but even more so, I think you're finally realizing that you have a voice. And it
yes.
doesn't have to be a negative voice, a positive voice. It's just you have a voice. And you've stayed behind the guilt and the fear and all that has kind of protected you from using your voice. But I think as you realize, okay, I can have this voice and use it and it's going to be okay, you're going to really find that power and really connect with your higher power. And it's just so much less suffering that's going to happen for you. And
Yeah, thank you.
unfortunately, as we progress, the people in our lives don't necessarily also progress like a sister or some of us have sibling issues. I know I have a bunch, but um when we progress and they don't, it's it's as if there's a setup that goes on with the siblings that aren't doing work and they want to kind of get us back into that mode where
Mm,
we're reactive and unmanageable and our disease runs our lives. So when they see us or have any kind of um, relationship stuff with us, they're still back in the old crap, but we're in our new life, our new way of life, and it just doesn't jive anymore. And you can even see sometimes people like that might keep coming back and hitting you to say, I want to push her buttons because I want to see the old person because I'm jealous that she's clearly becoming a better
yeah.
person. So
I
we
just have to remember to be gentle, like you were saying,
Yep.
with my speech.
Yep. Yeah, because we don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore. We don't have to say to our siblings, "Oh yeah, I'm doing recovery and I'm way better off than you are, and you're this and you're that." We don't even have to tell them. They see it.
Yeah.
They see the difference.
And just be kinder to myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share about their journey from the beginning to now? I feel like everyone had a really good journey with this. Go ahead, Rivers.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. Why do I want to do this work? To reduce my suffering, and in building, how do I build that deeper connection with my higher power? Um, and why now? Why now? Uh, I was like driven. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I knew that I knew that I needed to do it. I didn't know what I was getting into. But I knew something was pulling me, and I see now that that was, I may have had a connection with my higher power before in different areas of my life, but I needed more of what this type of, I don't even know what to call it, modality to the 12 steps to the depth that, first when Herb presented it and how you present it, Lisa, and that I was willing to go to any length because I had traction doing it before. I could get really emotional, the changes that and the suffering that diminished. And I was willing to be honest, and it was hard. It was hard to
Yeah.
bring those things from the darkness into the light about myself, like, and my own suffering and how I was to recognize how I was causing that suffering. Yeah, horrible things happen, horrible situation, whatever, but that was then. And then, and I kept this looping. Oh my gosh, it's just, yeah, it's worth the work, but it's hard. And then this time with you, Lisa, in doing it, um, I realized I was hanging on to wanting similar experiences that I had the last time I did it with Herb, and I wasn't getting it. So I was creating more suffering around why am I not relieved of this? What am I missing? And I kept looking, even though I thought I had like all the internal and was doing all the things and, you know, trying to keep in fit spiritual condition, I was still hanging on to wanting that previous experience. And needing to do the set aside prayer about letting go of those previous experiences. I got it to a different level that it's going to be what it is. And I can't remember how you described it, that pendulum thing or those balls, where you hit, there's like a bunch of balls, you hit one ball and then it goes boom and boom and boom. And then eventually does this, How you explain that? And that was my experience around just some very deep painful beliefs I had about myself. That was what you share about peeling that onion back. And that was tough, but now I want to call it a neutrality. And what's the other word for it? It's like I don't have a woohoo, oh my God, I am free, that type of experience, but I don't have my suffering. It's just like, oh, it's gone. That I felt I believed I deserved to suffer for whatever reason, that lack of self-worth. And it's like, oh, and I keep checking inside, like, is it really gone? And so, yeah, so this has been incredible. And how have I been changed? That's how I've been changed. And I'm looking at your homework assignment, like split screen. Those are my new awarenesses, and it's changing in my behavior. I had a wonderful opportunity to practice, oh my gosh, where I could jump into fear in a nanosecond with something my daughter did that I thought, oh my God, that's it. I may never see. I mean, I went into such the I catastrophize in a split second, and I had an opportunity to really work in the present moment in a now situation. Um, and how when I accepted the reality of something may happen, something may not happen. I have no power. I am powerless to it. And then when I rested in the reality of that and just got back into that conscious connection, then this peace would come over me, and then I'd get the answer, or I'd find the pin, you know what I mean? I'd get the response from my daughter that I was like trying to pull but wasn't getting. Oh my goodness, this has been amazing. So, and I know I've hardly talked any time during this whole thing, but just to let you know, I've been here. I've been, yeah, listening and learning from each of you. And so I thank all of you. And yeah, I think that's all I have.
I think the best analogy to what you said in the beginning about, looking around the corner and wanting that experience, that great experience again. What I can tell you it's very similar to is chasing that great high that we used to chase. You'd have it one time, you'd have this great food binge or whatever your addiction is, you'd have that great one and you'd spend so many times trying to get that again. So that's kind of a pattern that we have. It's that more mentality which gets us into addiction. Even when it comes to our spiritual experiences, we want more. Gotta have more, which
Yeah.
wanting more is great, but requiring it or chasing it like we would an
Yeah.
addiction is not. But yeah, it's a very similar feeling. It's like, okay, this was great and I want more of it. Of course we do.
Yeah, I wanted to be relieved of my suffering when I wanted
Yep,
to be relieved of my suffering. And how am I still saying my suffering? Because, like, oh my gosh, it just loops,
it
you know?
does. It does.
Mhm. So thank you. And just to ditto what others have said, thank you for all your time and effort you've put into making this like yours. It's different. I learned different things and I
Mm.
appreciate that. And then all just the wonderful slideshow and all that. And I did put something in the chat, whether you could answer it here or in an email. I loved what you said at the very end about the whole vision, and the vision is of something is something. And if you can't, that's fine. I'll listen to your recording when it comes out.
I'll text it to you. That's not a problem. Not a
Okay.
problem.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rivers. Go ahead, Sarah. You muted. Make sure your
Other things have
husband's
come,
not behind you.
yeah, other things have come up since through the discussion, some things I wanted to. I also want to thank you for the idea of the morning meditation, and it ties in with I think my ability to really acknowledge how uh, I have no control, and that I have to. I had some issues that came up this week that I was kind of anxious about, and I just asked my higher power in the morning, just tell me the right way to respond, tell me what I should do. I asked for the help, and it was kind of a difficult day, but everything that happened, it just kind of, I was able to respond to it and get on to the next one. And I got through the day just fine. And I thought, gee, I did not get through this day by myself. I got through by asking for help and being open to the whole help and the suggestions that came along. So I've gotten over time, I think, to be more honest with myself because I've been in such denial over the years, and I keep chipping away at it. Um, but it really is about being honest with myself and accepting, a lot of accepting. What is it? Acknowledging and awareness, acknowledging, and then action, acceptance and action, and um, and that I can't do it all by myself. I have to have help, and I have help through the fellowship, but I also have help from my higher power, and I don't. Sometimes I don't realize the help that's come until after I look back on it. But it's yeah, I've and having the faith. I wasn't very good on faith either. And I'm just in recent months, my faith and trust has really kind of developed. And I think, well, something happened today. And I thought, well, tomorrow's another day. It's going to work out, and it will work out. I just normally I would have gotten all upset and been angry. It has to do with problems with my email, which is frustrating, but it's not the end of the world, and it'll work out tomorrow. So I'm going to have a good night's sleep and deal with it tomorrow. So it's yeah. I loved yeah, I loved your sessions, and each time I got a lot out of them. I didn't often say much either, but I was listening. I
Nope.
was listening.
Everybody said exactly the right amount.
Mhm.
Everything went exactly the way it was supposed to. So don't feel like, oh, I should have said more. I should have this. No shoulds. Nope. Not allowed. No shooting on yourselves here.
Okay.
Definitely not. And yeah, that morning practice is so important.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you don't even do the rest of it, if you do that morning practice, because when we ask for help, what we're essentially doing is we create an opening. When we utter the words, I need help, an opening happens. And once we make that opening, that's when the light can come in. And if you remember back to your days when things were really unmanageable in your life, you just couldn't bring yourself to ask for help
Hmm.
because we're so unmanageable. We can't fathom that anything else could make it any better. So in our unmanageable times, we couldn't ask for help, so we didn't have the opportunity for that door to open or that crack in the wall to open up and that light come in. So when we start our day with that intention of I'm asking for help before I even need
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I'm going in prepared. I've got my armor on because I've already asked for help without even a iota of needing it. It's a huge step in recovery to be able to say, from that moment of awakening, I need help. And it's okay. In fact, it's fantastic because it sets the day in motion where you're going to get help with everything that comes into
Yeah.
your existence.
Hmm.
And
That's what
you can
happened.
try it out. If you don't believe me, anybody listening, try it out. It actually works that way. It really does. It's
Hmm.
phenomenal. And it's simple. As I've told people, you can do a 1 minute meditation.
Yeah.
1 minute. And it's going to make a drastic change in your day and your life and your recovery. Go ahead, Cesar.
Just a quick question. What about seventh tradition? You haven't
Step
mentioned anything about would do we is there a seventh tradition in these workshops?
4.
Mm.
Can we contribute? Like, do you have
Oh,
expenses? I don't know.
I'm like, what is she? I'm like, did I miss something in the seventh tradition? And I didn't even teach this. I'm like racking my brain, go, oh my God. I don't put anything out there. It's on my website for anybody that wants to do something. It's whatever it is. My gift from everybody is their contribution of their vulnerability. Because when people are vulnerable around me, I get to learn about myself. So to me, that's a tremendous gift that people are willing to be vulnerable in my presence. So, you know,
Okay.
it's a
Hmm.
tremendous gift. When you think about how much people hide and deny and don't really show their true selves, to be able to have somebody come in my presence and tell me some of the things I've been told, whether it's doing a fifth step with them, their fourth step, or just they're having a really hard time. That's not something we as human beings really want to do. We don't want to be vulnerable, especially if we've come from addictive relationships, homes, lives, whatever. Vulnerability is not our friend. So when I'm in somebody's presence and they're willing to be vulnerable, it is awe-inspiring to me. It really is. And it's one
Okay.
of the things I really love about children.
Mhm.
They're already automatically vulnerable and they don't care, which we unfortunately unlearn that as we grow up and learn different ways of doing things. But that vulnerability is it's very powerful for people. And when somebody can overcome that, it's a huge step in a positive direction, for sure.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I actually, I just had a quick thing to add. And I think I guess it's really important too. Is that someone had just mentioned it that yeah, the morning thing. I think I've done it since you asked us to do it in the morning. So I've done that every single day, like rain or shine. So maybe like a full year. Which I actually, when I think about it. Um, in the past, I don't know that I would do it like that up until hanging around. I mean, like I knew of it from the big book, but I would do it, then stop, and then just like with this workshop, I don't even think about it. I just do it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you know what, Mark? That's probably why I'm seeing such a big difference in you, because you are doing that. So you're what I was just talking about. You're starting your day and you're saying, I'm vulnerable, I'm open, but I have help. And the progress you can make when doing that, well, look at the progress. I think you've made a lot of progress. I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but I think that you've made a lot of progress from my vantage point, definitely. So that morning practice is I was doing a morning practice before it even came up in a 12-step program. So it's always been something in the background, but with the 12 steps it became more of, like Mark said, it just became automatic. It has to be an automatic every day. It's not like when I feel like it or when I have time or when I think about it. It just, I wake up, it starts. And it, like I said, it doesn't take long. Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes more is needed, and it might be 10 minutes. But the important part of that morning practice is the opening that happens. And when we connect to our higher power, that's our consent. We're consenting to the future possibility that we'll need that power. And that's why that morning practice is so powerful. Not because we're meditating, because we're opening up and we're allowing in that power, the only power that has the ability to change our lives. It's the only power that does. So it's really crucial. A lot of people are, I can't meditate, or that's so earthy crunchy, or this or that. It's none of those things. It's opening, for lack of a better expression. So keep doing your morning practices. Don't don't ever give that up. If you give up everything else, don't close that door in the morning. Because if you do give up everything else, you're going to need that opening every morning.
That's right.
Hugely. Because this unmanageability is not tackled without it. And we're all born unmanageable. And in a snap, we're all right back there. So keeping that channel open is it's imperative. We cannot survive without it. So always do your morning practice. And if you want to start adding in the gratitude part, if you have the
That's a
time,
good
and
idea too.
there's some people do the gratitude, they do one word a day. You do it for 364 days, and you can't repeat the same word twice. And in the beginning, it's really simple. But as the days start to add up, we have to really get creative about what we're grateful for. But it's a really good one if you're good at stick to itiveness. Go ahead, Rivers.
Thank you for the gratitude piece, which I find very helpful, is with either accountability partner, my sponsor, I do it with another fellow in the program, and I send to my daughter. I do one gratitude, like at my upon awakening, and then one thing I'm going to be of help to myself and to someone else,
Nice.
and it could be a person, when it's others, it could be a person, place, or thing. It could be like, I'm going to water my plants and, I'm going to tend to my plants. Or it could be, I'm going to do an outreach call to someone who's in need, or I'm going to volunteer here. Or, I mean, it's a whole range of things. So it gets me, what's my gratitude? I do that conscious connection. Um, and like, then I'm led, what do I need to do for me today? It could be, I'm going to work on my homework. Oh, I'm going to work on whatever it is. Oh, I'm going to do some self-care. And then I get real specific on what it is. Um, and then I just send it off, not expecting, like, we don't reply to each other. These people I do is like a thumbs up or a heart that I know it's been read. It gives me some accountability. And then it helps me then follow through. Like, am I going to follow through with what I'm gonna, all that. So it was just a real easy practice for me. Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude is a game changer. Like literally, it changes the game. When we come from gratitude instead of lack, we
Yeah.
attract more stuff too.
Yeah.
It's one of those laws of the universe. You're gonna get what you give out. So if we're giving out gratitude and we're thinking about gratitude and we're experiencing gratitude, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
spread all around us and back to us. It's like a boomerang, send it out and it comes right back. But not before it touches other people too. And it just
Right.
changes your whole day. It changes the look on your face. It changes your persona. People sense it in your energy. When you walk around with gratitude, you just appear different. When we walk around with a scowl, everyone sees it and knows it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, the alcoholic who finally gives up drinking and says, I hope nobody knew. The whole town knows. He was running around like a maniac. That's like, oh, I hope nobody knows. Well, everybody knows because they see your face.
Mm-hmm.
We think we hide so much, but we really don't hide a lot. So if we want people to see something positive about us, we go out into the world with gratitude in our heart. And that's what we're going to see. It's like, have you ever bought a certain car that you didn't really know that much about, and you go out and you drive it off the lot, and you see 15 of them by the time you get to your house, and you're like, I've never even noticed one before. That's
Mm-hmm.
just your awareness has changed. There aren't more blue cars. Your awareness sees more blue cars. So our our state of mind starts in that morning moment, and we get to determine how the rest of the day goes. Now, that doesn't mean bad stuff doesn't happen. It just means when it does happen, I've already started my day in a certain headset,
Mm,
and I'm going to take that
exactly.
to these problems that are coming my way as long as I can, because I'm not perfect. Sometimes it just becomes overwhelming and I lose it and, you know, walk away. And then 10 minutes later, I calm down and I come back and I make an apology and I remember again, but we're human. At the end of the day, we're human. And giving ourselves grace is the most important person we need to give grace to because we're all very hard on ourselves and we don't need to be. We're just perfect creations of God who got lost on the wrong path and we're just
Hmm.
trying to get back. That's it. There
Hmm.
is nothing else going on. So